Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. This time you'll notice it might be a little bit of a lighting difference. I'm actually trying out a different place to record my videos until I can get better lighting for where I do all my building. Today for you I have one of the Scottish twins from the Thomas & Friends or Thomas the Tank Engine TV series. Something you'll notice, the title of the video is kind of a trick, saying I labeled it as both when really I only have one engine built, mainly because I don't have the parts for a second engine, but really there would be no point in me doing separate videos for both of these characters since they are the same engine. So essentially what this is, it would be the base design before I add stickers. The easiest way I can identify that is I do have the red tile up here where I could put the nameplate when I'm ready, and then I have the tender that's empty and bare, but all I gotta do is put a number on it. I didn't want to do that because I haven't decided if I'm gonna actually make two engines or not. Another thing I could do is just make two tenders and then just get enough tiles for the nameplate so I can switch them out. But either way, if I were to build the second one for the other twin, it'd look exactly the same. So we're just gonna go ahead and review this one. Once again, this is pretty much the Hogwarts Express with the cab redone and the boiler recolored. However, you'll notice I did have to do some modifications down here, changing the I should actually look up what these are called. I call them, still wheel wells, even though they're not. I'm sure there's a proper name out there, and I got to figure it out. But so above each of the wheels, it's got those curves. Two things I really like about this build, and I apologize for saying, is the whistle. It's really interesting because they kind of have two parts or two whistles. Like Thomas has each one on either side. Well, they got one in the front and kind of one in the back. And the one in the front's kind of got a curved design to it. That's why I tried to show with these pieces here. And the one in the back is just a solid, kind of your standard looking whistle. My second kind of favorite part, or really I think that's my second favorite part, my favorite part of the build is how I did the buffer beams. If you own the Hogwarts Express, you'll know it's a 2x6 space up here. Well, what I ended up doing was I put a brick down here where the buffers are, obviously, and then I used the slope, the larger cheese slopes. Let me see, I'm going to uncouple him from the tender real quick so I can try to get you a better look. If it focuses. I think that kind of focused, but you can see here how there's the slope right up front. I think it got out of focus again. It's easier to see in person, and you can kind of see it here with that light shining in. But what I was able to do was design it because the front of them, if you ever look at the front of Donald and Douglas, they do have kind of a little slope that goes up to where their main boiler is. And it was kind of hard to do because I should have shortened the boiler up a bit, but I didn't want to because it'd make them look too small. So that's how I did that part, is I used what I think is a way too big part up here for the buffer beam, made it smaller, and I also made it work with the rest of the whole build. Just like the Hogwarts Express, we got the handrails going across, nothing special there. The dome, I redid, obviously in black, with the tiling up top and the whistles. If we go back to the cab, I had a hard time deciding what I wanted to do with the cab because they have these bars, but they're kind of more in like that. I had a hard time trying to figure out how I wanted to do it without making this part, like this brick right here, completely disappear. So I went with the design where it's actually on the outside, and you can kind of see here I do have a stud up there that it goes into and connects to the cab roof. Excuse me. And I think that works really well. The inside, I'm not going to show you the inside of the cab because it is just like the Hogwarts Express. For those of you who maybe want to know a little bit of my building, how I go about building these, I just buy what I did for this engine and I did for James. I bought the Hogwarts Express, built it, and then I pulled away the parts I didn't need. If we look at the tender now, since I've been talking about the engine for almost 4 minutes, It's just very simple box design. The hardest part for me deciding how I wanted to do this was, if you ever look at Donald and Douglas's tender, or in their case a Caledonian CR, I know they're a specific CR class, but I just I forgot to look it up. I can't remember what it is, so I just call them a Caledonian CR class. I know there's a number in there. I want to say it's like 810 for some reason, but I'm not sure. But if you ever look at, you know, how it curves on the side, and then it also curves all the way around the back. I couldn't find any parts that I liked to, you know, smooth it out. You can kind of see here how it's cornered. Maybe if I pick it up. Yeah, there you go. So what I ended up doing is I played around with either going the whole back going up like this, or the sides coming out. And I like the sides going out better, because otherwise it looks like you gave the engine a spoiler, and it looks kind of funny. I really actually didn't like it. Because of that reason, it looked like a spoiler like on a sports car. I'm going to go ahead and turn them around. It's exactly the same build on this side, obviously. The coupling rods obviously are longer because the wheels are spaced out further than the Hogwarts Express. You might be able to see if I back the engine up. It's actually dark bluish gray in there. That's how the set's actually designed, and I left it like that. However, I might go through eventually and replace it all in black. Since it was a minor detail, I didn't make it a priority. I do have the lamp up here as usual. And then if I go ahead and turn, so you can look at the back, obviously I got the 2 buffers on the back of the tender. Just very simple add-ons. I can't remember if the Hogwarts Express does it, but either way, this was a custom-built tender, and that's how I got it to work. The only kind of issue with this model is the tender, the way the wheels are spaced. It can still go around the curved track, but you can feel it. There's a lot more friction in there. So honestly, I can't separate these anymore, but it still looks great. What I do like about this build over my James build is these don't get stuck as much. I think when they're closer together, I don't know what it is, they just jam a little bit easier. But this one I've had 0 issues with. It flows so nice and smooth. I love it. I did actually add in some detail right here on the boiler. You can see while it's at this angle, the 1x4 brick with only the 2 studs on top. Or plate, not brick. But anyways, before this video gets way too long, because I think it kind of is reaching too long, this is my model of Donald or Douglas from Thomas and Friends. And let me give you a look at his face too. A little different thing I did there is I left the nose part kind of pushed in a little bit more, because I kind of have that, I call it a triangular or wedge-shaped nose. So I went with this, just the cheese slope, and I think it looks great. I'm going to try different smiles, or different parts to make the smiles on the face. But I do think this engine came out fantastic. One of my better builds, and by better builds, I just mean a nice, sleek, clean build. And right before I go, another thing you probably noticed is I did actually put ports up there, or holes for the drivers to see out of when I do get around to putting on or adding in drivers. So that's really nice. That's one build thing I like over my James build, which I got to modify even more. But I'm going to stop here, because I know I said I was about a minute ago. A big request I've had from at least 1 or 2 of you is, 1, you wanted to see bigger engines, so here's a bigger engine again. And then 2, you want to know my building process. If this video within a week can get over 50 views and at least 3 likes, I'll definitely, without a doubt, go ahead and think about doing a kind of how I go about designing these. Otherwise, it might be a little bit before I make one of those videos. You probably heard my dog walking by. Maybe you didn't. But I'm going to end the video here. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. And I really hope you enjoyed this build of a Lego version of Donald or Douglas from Thomas the Tank Engine. Have a great day.